Hello, Mohith. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for accepting my invite and joining. I think you have a very interesting perspective because you are a developer advocate, and I've seen a lot of these developer advocates, and I've always been curious. I'm a developer, and are you advocating for me? How are you advocating for me? Maybe I should be talking to you. So,
Right. Yeah. So developer advocate is a very interesting role. I would say, part of our job is helping the developer community. And also we work very closely with our engineering, marketing, and the product teams. So it's bridging with the developer community to the product. So I take the feedback from the community and work with our with our product teams here. Similarly, if there is any messaging that needs to happen to our developer teams, then or to our developer community, then I take that message and deliver. So as a part of the job, we produce content, we deliver a lot of blogs, also sample applications, and we empower our developers here.
cool. So, as an advocate, are you a developer, or are you a marketer, or a journalist, or business journalist? What are you?
Yeah, so as I said, like developer advocate is a combination of all of these roles. So we play multiple roles depending on what needs to happen. But our primary role is to produce content so that it helps our developers.
Developers, like Salesforce developers, or
Salesforce developers. It also helps Salesforce developers. Also, if there are any developers who are trying to understand our technology, it could be new developers. So it's our job to help them so that we can onboard them to our Salesforce platform.
Cool. So I'm a developer, and how do you help me? How can I benefit from you?
Yeah. So you might have encountered a issue, and let's say you Google them, you might have come across our blog post on our developer.salesforce.com, or you might have browsed through your YouTube to find if there is any solution, or you might have used some of our sample applications. So that's how we help, by producing the content before community sort of adopts the technology, and also by publishing a lot of content so that it helps you in your learning as well, like learning and implementing our products.
And so the primary role is to create content, right? For the Salesforce developers like myself and others.
Yes, so that's the primary role, and the content could be in different forms. Like, as I said, the blogs are one of the forms. The other form is obviously the sample code. So I don't know if you have seen our Trailhead apps GitHub repo. If you have not, I'd strongly recommend. So you go to github.com/Trailhead apps, where you will find different sample applications where we show you how to sort of get started on Salesforce platform, or get started with any particular technology. Like, for example, LWC. We have a repo for LWC recipes application so that you learn LWC. Similarly, we have for Apex. Now, there are also applications that are fully functional, like e-cars or easy spaces, which use all of these technology and show you how to actually build a complete application on Salesforce platform.
Cool. Yeah, I love the apps actually. And I've been familiar with them for at least 1 year, I think. At least 1 year. I've been actively looking at them, exploring them. Apex recipes, LWC recipes, the Dreamhouse app, etc. And yes. I didn't know that they were produced by the developer advocates. And
yeah, so that's our primary role. And if you look at these apps, one of the key things that you will see is these are constantly maintained. That means the moment we have a new release, you will see that we will also roll out enhancements to these apps. So any new feature that Salesforce sort of launches, we understand them and also understand how to implement, and we implement them in these applications. So these are continuously updated. Also, like some of these applications use dependencies, and those dependencies are also we constantly update. And the best part about these applications are they show you an end-to-end flow of of a life of a developer, like what you have to do actually, right? So a lot of times if you go and read through the documentation, you will see there are code snippets, but these applications are more than that. They show you how to like use our developer tools like Salesforce CLI, the VS Code extension pack. So we show you how to actually make use of all of these and scaffold the project. What are some of the best practices to lint your code? What are some of the testing best practices? So one of the things you will see in these apps are any app or anything that we build has a unit test. And also we show you the CI/CD automation. So that is one of the key components there. Like we are also building this application in a team, and we have to put together a developer workflow to manage so that there are no conflicts. So we use our own technology, and put together a DevOps flow. So it's
Cool.
again, building an application is not just like pasting code or taking snippets of the code. It is much more beyond that, because you need to learn how to use the tools, how to collaborate together in a team environment, and also use some of the best practices. So these applications also show you what is the best practice to use a particular API or technology.
Cool. Can you give us a tour
Oh yeah,
of
sure.
the apps? Let's take a look. I know there are like at least 10 apps, I think.
Yes. So let's take a tour. If I can share my screen and show you. So let's take a tour of some of these applications. Okay. So we go to this github.com/trailhead apps. And here you will see like one of our very popular apps is LWC recipes, right? So if I go to LWC recipes app, we first of all show you, first of all the code is open source. Okay. So you can browse through any of the folder and see the code, right? The next thing that is very interesting here is we have Trailhead module for everything. So if you want to get started with this project, there is a Trailhead module. So you can read about them, and complete the trail so that it helps you understand what is there at high level. The next thing is the install experience. Now you can install the app in scratch arcs, or you can install them as an unlock package, or you can install them in a developer edition or a Trailhead playground. So we highlight the instructions for that. So all of the step-by-step instruction is there, right? So if you want to set up your ID, like for example, you install all of these tools, you authenticate to our dev hub, you clone the repo, and then push the code and get your org ready with sample data, okay, with the right themes as well. So that's how we show this. And again, as I said, for different environments, it actually shows the workflow. Also, the tools that we use is highlighted here. Like for code formatting, we use Prettier. For code linting, we use ESLint. And also for making sure that all these rules are taken into consideration each time when you commit your code changes. We use Husky and some of the Node.js plugins here. So all of them is there. And the best part is if you install them in your VS Code, we give you what we call it as Code Tour VS extension. So using this Code Tour VS extension, we onboard you, meaning there are walkthrough guides for you to actually go to one of the lines of the Apex code or LWC code and explore what it is. So we implement all of them to help you with that, right? So now if I go to one of these apps, right, one of the recipes, right? So let's say I go to LWC. Here I can see all of sample code, and these are like really basic level sample code for understanding very very specific details of the API. Like for example, if I have to understand how to call Apex in imperative method from LWC, it's there here. It shows a simple example of how to do it. And also if you go to like tests, you will see that for the same example, we would have implemented a just test. So similarly, you will see a lot of these examples, and going through each of these example, you're learning how to understand or how to work with LWC recipes. So let's imagine you're building a complete application. You will eventually use blocks from this, right? So this is like bite size. We call it as bite size content, right? So it is very modularized so that you actually take step by step and learn. And then once you learn everything, you can put together to actually build a real complex Lightning Web Components. So that's about Lightning Web Components, right? So similarly, we also have one for Apex recipes, which is also one of my favorite application. Again, same thing. It has all of these ways to install. Once you install, right, you will see that there is an application where you can go and play with all of the recipes. Again, this is for someone who is learning Apex, how to write triggers, or how to use Apex classes for security best practices, or whether you are working with, like, let's say, an invocable Apex class for flows or custom metadata, or if you want to use for some async recipes, like working with batch Apex, scheduled Apex, queuables. So all of these, you can literally find everything here. There's a lot of code, and we have a comprehensive docs and test cases, as I said, right? There's a dedicated test folder. So it's not just about code, right? It's also about how to like write it in a in a best way possible on the platform with best practices. Like there is testing recipes where you can learn about stubbing and other ways to write test classes. So like you can go to the test folder, as I was talking about, and you can see that there are also test cases. So yeah, and then if you go to any of these applications, will have a .github folder where we use GitHub Actions for showing you how to automate this project using CI/CD technology, right? So here we use GitHub Actions, and we show, like, for example, this GitHub Actions allows you to install CLI automatically, authenticate to the DevHub environment, create the package versions, and deploy the code to scratch.org and install the package, and update the package link. And also you'll be surprised, like a lot of readme for the project, especially where we have this package link, right? So where this is like the package link, right? So for the package link, especially for unlock package, this link we automatically sort of generated every time there is a release, and we automatically update this readme through that GitHub workflow. So you see, we have automated a lot of these, and we have open source so that anybody can actually go and look at the code and understand how to build applications.
Let's look at the GitHub Actions page
Yeah.
that you were on. So
Yeah.
I'm not very familiar with GitHub Actions. I know that our QA team uses them to create like QA orgs, run unit tests, I think. And so if I want to get familiar with GitHub Actions, like what you were showing just now, is there a Trailhead, or how do I get familiar with how to
definitely
make use of this?
So if you go and look in our YouTube channel, you'll definitely find a lot of content around GitHub Actions and how we use it. Also on Trailhead Live, you will find. So if you go to like Trailhead Live, now Trailhead Live site, we are still working on making it easier to find, but it's actually easier. So you go and say, okay, what is your level, like advanced, or I have to say all.
So what is Trailhead Live?
That's a very good question. So Trailhead Live is our platform where our internal folks, like our engineers or our developer advocates like me, go live. Although we moved to YouTube now for a lot of the content, but still, like for Trailhead specific content, it's also video content, right? Trailhead today gives you everything in a really nice gaming format, like you complete the badges. But let's say you want to watch a video, right? Like for example here, like getting started with chain management, or building a type space library, right? So all those video content is published here. So people go live here and teach you how to work with Salesforce technologies. Like for example, you can see there's a live schedule here. So during this period, you will see that there will be a live sessions, and also these are recorded. So once like the live sessions are over, These are recorded and the library is here for you to explore. So GitHub Actions, you'll find many here. I'm pretty sure we did a lot of content around GitHub Actions. Essentially, GitHub Actions is a CI/CD tool. So there are so many tools to do your continuous integration and delivery. If you're working on a closed environment, that is, you're collaborating and you're building the application as a team. So a lot of product use or need, or products obviously will have a need for using a CI/CD technology so that you can easily collaborate, you can easily review the code, and the releases are automated. So there are so many vendors like that, like Circle CI is one of the vendors. You have Travis CI. So GitHub, I think it was last year, launched its own CI/CD sort of terminology, or let's say CI/CD technology.
Mm-hmm.
So they launched this called as GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions is essentially what you do is you go to .github, right, and go to workflows. So you have to create a workflow folder, and there you can create a YAML file, .yml file, where you can script your workflow. Like, for example, let's take an example of packaging workflow, right? So in the packaging workflow, what we want is we want to create the package ultimately, right? So we have Salesforce DX commands for all of them. But what we do here is like we automate it. So the moment the PR happens, like for example, this runs on the workflow starts when a custom event is released called start packaging. So we install the Salesforce CLI, we check the source code, we authenticate, and then we create a package version. And we wait for the package creation, and then we create a scratch arc, we install that new package, we update the README with the new link, and then we create a new PR for that README update and automatically approve that pull request. And then we wait for the CI on the pull request, and then we merge it, and finally we delete the scratch arc, right? So this is the workflow, and that's all automated. So if you actually go to Apex recipes, if you go to actions, you can see them in action. Like,
wow.
So you can go to actions here, and you can see, like, for example, the packaging flow that would have ran, right? So this ran like 3 days ago. So let's click on one of them. So you see what happened. All of these things happened, right? So I was saying, like, the Salesforce CLI got installed automatically. You checked out the source code. You populate your auth file. You created the package from the stuff, right, from the Salesforce CLI, and you install these packages, you approve the pull request, right? So you were asking me about, hey, where can I like find more information around these, hot stuff like, CI/CD, etc., right? So
Exactly.
so there is this modern app development on Salesforce series that we did. And we recorded the whole content. So if you actually go to this playlist, so this is the playlist on the YouTube channel, and we created this to give an end-to-end experience of, okay, what it is to build on Salesforce platform today, right? So we talk about developer tools, data model design, front-end application architecture, using Lightning Web Components, automation using flows and Apex, writing Node.js microservices for giving you that elastic scale if you want, testing, and then deploying. And this is where like automating developer workflow and deployments. So you might want to watch this specific thing, right? So here we talk about the same thing that I just went you through. So we constantly produce content on the channel, and a lot of developers, if they are listening to your show today, I would request them that you follow our Salesforce developer channel so that you don't miss something like this. You don't miss the official content that gets published from our team. And we constantly push, the things have got digitized after the pandemic sort of hit. Like, there's no more conferences, right? Like, for me as a developer advocate, one of my job was to actually go to those conferences or go to those developer meetups and share these content with them, but no more we can do in person. So that's where we started working on our YouTube channel, because that's our channel to deliver the content. So if you go to our videos, right, you will see there are fun type of content like like these dev talkies that our India team does, but you'll also find some interesting content around Node.js, Heroku, Salesforce technology. Like for example, if you're looking to understand more LWC in more depth, or if you're looking to understand JavaScript like ECMAScript, or you're building a CLI plugin, why not? So there's also podcast. So there's a lot more things here. And as you can see, every week we definitely push a lot of content here.
Wow, cool. That's cool.
Yep.
Then this building apps, it's relevant for not just ISVs, right? It's
correct. It's not just for ISVs. Building apps is for everyone on Salesforce platform.
Cool.
Yeah.
And let's go back to the Trailhead apps GitHub page.
Sure.
Which is, you said your most popular is the LWC recipes.
Yes, that is the most popular one for sure. But these are examples of bite-sized content or bite-sized applications, right? Like these are recipes, truly recipes. But if you're looking for like an end-to-end application, right, there are a few like Dreamhouse. The other one was not LWC recipes, like the Red Hood Insurance or Easy Spaces. So Easy Spaces is also one of my favorite applications, simply because it shows you how to build applications using modular application design patterns. That means you're creating multiple packages, multiple unlock packages. With unlock packages, you can actually create these modular sort of a design. So as you can see, our application code is now split between 4 different packages. So this is like one of my favorite projects, and you can see there's a video on that. You can also there's a little Trailhead module that I wrote about it, which talks about our whole packaging architecture, like how we have layered this application. It's essentially a bunch of 4 different dependent applications, right? So you can see that the project.json definition for this is much more complex than any of your other projects, because here we have like base objects, we have base styles, we have like base LWC code, which depends on the object. And then finally, we have that application, which depends on these 3 different packages. So we show you how to like do a dependent package build. Now, again, packaging, this is like one of the miscommunications, or maybe a lot of you are not aware as Salesforce developers, right? Previously, these packages were managed packages were available for only ISVs, right? So we came up with the same concepts, but for like normal customers, we call it as unlocked packages. So unlocked packages are for everyone. You need not be an ISV. You can be just a Salesforce partner or a developer and build your application as a unlocked packages, where the code is not sort of IP protected, right? It's code packageable, so you can split your metadata into multiple packages. So it becomes really easy to iterate over these packages and build your application. Unlike previously, like for example, if your orgs keep growing, right, and if you just have one folder, you might have like 10,000 metadata in one single folder, and then at that time you are like really pushing the platform, because then you cannot deploy things, you cannot iterate quickly, right? So most of the times everything actually sits in the org. So you adopt org-based development. That's called org-based, where you don't have your code or metadata in the GitHub or in the source control, essentially. Like having it on the source control is so easy, because that way you don't have to like sort of worry about things in the org. You're more controlled. You can review the stuff before things get packaged to production, and you can automate your developer workflow essentially. So this Easy Spaces is one of my favorite applications, because it shows that Now, the other thing that I want to show you is eCars. Now, eCars is something that we lately built. I think it was last year. And it is one of my favorite applications because it's a it's very different project. Unlike, it's not just Salesforce project. Okay. So typically we show you how to build only with Salesforce core, but Heroku is also part of our platform, right? And combining Heroku and Salesforce, you get the power of both a multi-tenant architecture and the flexible runtime. Because with Heroku you can control that CPU limits and stuff like that. So this is an example of that kind of an application. And also with Heroku, you are not limited to opinionated format. Like in Salesforce, we have opinionated stuff, right? You can only do certain things in this way, right? But let's say you are an advanced developer and you pretty much want that flexibility. Let's say you are a web developer and you want to build something like a progressive web application, which is really has local storage, or let's say you want to build an offline capability. So progressive web apps, right? So those type of like new stuff, then you can mix Heroku and Salesforce, and we show that here. So that's why you will see that there is a Salesforce app, but then more importantly, there is this folder called apps folder, where you can see there are different parts of or different applications or microservices hosted on Heroku, which work with Salesforce data together. So we have a folder for progressive web app, and then a folder to show how to implement MQTT, which is essentially an IoT protocol. So let's say you have an IoT device communicating to Salesforce. How would you implement that protocol, right? So this is really an advanced application to show how you're not just limited by the technology that is there on the Salesforce core, but if you want to push the boundaries, then the Heroku, you have to use Heroku in combination with Salesforce to really extend that capabilities of the platform and use that flexible runtime that you have.
Cool.
Heroku,
Cool.
yeah.
Very cool technology. I thought I knew some of the apps, but I think I need to explore.
And one more thing here is, we make it very easy to deploy this application. So we worked on like the developer experience. So this should, like, the moment I think about like Heroku, right, I'm like, okay, I might need to type a lot of commands. It will take some time to stand up an application, but here we automate this. So this has this automated deploy. So that means what you do is, these are like just 5 steps. So you need Salesforce org, you need a Heroku instance. That's all you need. And after that, you just log into Salesforce, log into Heroku, clone this repo, and then you cd into the script folder and you say npm install, and then you run this node script. This will create you everything. Like, it will stand up Heroku, it'll create 4 different applications on Heroku. It will push the source code from the repo to the Scratch org, and it'll connect Salesforce and Heroku application. So you'll have working application end to end.
It will assign the permission set.
Yes, it will do all of the stuff for you.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you go to like the script folder, right? So let's go to the script folder that I was talking about, right? And this is the power. And this is how we show, like, and everything is like open source. We're not using anything that is hidden or anything proprietary, right? So this is like, we use what we call it as shell.js and Node, and we have just automated it for you. So it's like 100 lines, or it'll be 100 lines of code, and we show how to like automate creation of these Heroku applications, and also configuration of keys and stuff like that. This is like what, not 100 lines. There's like 600 lines of code, right? But that's the power. We show that you can just automate everything, and you can launch these applications right away with few commands. Yeah.
Cool.
So you should check it out.
The stuff you guys build, your target audience, is it more like advanced developers or more junior developers? Who do you think is your target audience?
It's for anyone who wants to learn and build on Salesforce platform. Okay. So that's why if you see our applications, they are of different nature, and also shows different features of the platform. and also show how to push the platform to the next level. In case you want to learn some new stuff and want to push. So it is for everyone. It may be someone who knows Heroku and wants to explore Salesforce and how to build on Salesforce platform. Well, we have application like eCards, which shows, and we have all these recipe applications. Now, if you are a Salesforce developer and very interested in learning, okay, how do I push certain things on Salesforce and build something really innovative with the technologies that are available as open source, apart from what Salesforce core gives, you can do that. Or if you're a new developer just trying to learn things like Apex and LWC, we have these recipes for you to come and explore in addition to the content on the Trailhead.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Yeah, I was thinking that, yeah, this is very cool. And why is it called Trailhead Apps? So is this like an extension of Trailhead?
Yes. So, this is, yeah. So we named our repos Trailhead Apps because, we are part of Trailhead in a way, right? We are, Trailhead, is our platform for teaching you how to build applications on Salesforce. And this is just an extension of it. So we go and say, okay, Trailhead Apps. Yeah.
Cool.
And we also have a page dedicated to the sample gallery. So, this is the page,
Yes.
like the marketing page, right? And the apps are continuously getting added. For example, last week, there was an application on AMP for Marketing Cloud. So we have slowly started to push and find out, like, okay, what are other developers on our ecosystem, and what do they need in terms of, what do they need in terms of code, right? Or what do they need to learn, right? So sample applications are a great way. And this is something that I personally believe that as a developer, right, most of the stuff you learn is by doing and not by, just watching a video or a content or reading some material. You actually learn by building something, right? And to build something, you need some ideas, you need some code, you need to go look at, okay, how is this specific thing built, right? Like, for example, when I was learning LWC, right, let's say I take a component like lightning input and let's say a couple of buttons, right? When I'm actually building, I need to see, okay, how these things are working, like what are the stuff, or what is possible out of this, right? And when I see an application, it becomes a little more clearer to me, saying, okay, I have some code that I can work with, right? And as a developer, we all know that we just go to Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow, copy code, try to work in bits and pieces to make the stuff easier. So this is in addition to that, so that you have something which you can go and learn, right? So yeah, so these are some of the application, and we have the page for here to look at these and understand and learn, essentially.
Cool. Here there are like maybe 12 apps, but on the Trailhead Apps GitHub page there are many more apps.
Yes, so there are many more. Again, so I think what both of them are same. Now some of them you might not see because we are working internally, right? So there are some internal repos that just got displayed here, but yeah, essentially they are same things, yeah. So if I'm authenticated, right, so you see some private repo that we might be working, but yeah, publicly, if you browse the site, it should be pretty much very close to what we see. And as you can see, we will keep pushing safe harbor again, but we will keep pushing these sample applications, and also content on our channel. This will be our way, one of our ways to make sure we stay connected with the community, and we give everything to the community so that they feel inspired to learn these new features and adopt them.
Awesome. And you're a developer advocate. You're advocating for us developers to adopt newer technology, latest technology. And how long you been doing this, Mohith?
Yeah, so I have been very new to this officially, I must say. Um, I think a year now, almost a year.
Cool.
Right when the pandemic hit, I did not know and sort of moved to this role with different expectations. Like when my expectation was I will go to different conferences, I will speak to developers, I'll present there in person. But the pandemic got hit and things got changed overnight. So I had to adopt myself to understand, okay, how I can sort of use technologies which allow me, or channels which allow me to go virtually. So that's where, I figured out Trailhead Live and YouTube channels are one of the ways for us to deliver content, so that we are still connected to our community.
Cool.
But to answer your question, like how long you have been doing it, I think I've been doing from maybe 5-6 years, not knowingly that I'm doing a developer advocacy here. So
Really?
I've been very active on Salesforce Stack Exchange. I've been working with different communities. So I'm from India, right? So I started my career in India, and did software engineering there, building on Salesforce platform. But I learned from community. That is, I used to go to community conferences or hackathons, or you name it, like gatherings, like developer gatherings. So I used to go and learn and teach. Like, if I used to learn something, I used to go in front of the community and teach them, and enable them. So in a way, I was doing it unknowingly. That's called like developer advocacy, right? So developer advocacy is all about that. Here in this job, it's not just like I learn the stuff and I build something. This is more the role to enable others. So that way, I first learn and then basically help you learn the same stuff. So that's the little role change there. So I'm continuously learning and sharing, or we call it as learn, and then we build, and then we share. So learn, build, and share.
Learn,
That's
build,
our
and
like
share.
little mantra, for
Yeah, I
this
think
role.
I think that should be the mantra of any Salesforce developer who wants to grow. Is
Yeah. For me, it has always been like, okay, I want to be working with community. I love being with community and developers, and I love to understand problems. One of my favorite stuff, or you can say a passion project for me, has been Stack Exchange, like Salesforce Stack Exchange. So I hang out there a lot, read a lot of questions on a daily basis, and see, hey, where is, what are some of the challenges, or what are some of the common frequent questions that are getting asked, or where are the developers sort of getting stuck, right? So I spend like at least half an hour to 1 hour on a daily basis, and try to answer one or two questions there every day, just as my hobby and passion. And in that process, I've learned a lot, actually,
yeah.
more than like sharing the stuff, right? I've learned a lot. It also allows you to push your boundaries. Like, for example, if I'm researching on a question, right, I'm pushing myself to a completely new dimension that I might not even be aware of, so
I love Stack Exchange too.
yeah.
The quality of answers, the speed of the answers is just, you couldn't get that even if you paid. And
Yeah.
show us your account. I bet you, are you like in the top 5% of the?
I think so. Let's see. So,
Wow,
so
Mohit.
this is
Top
my account.
0.18%. Woohoo!
Yes. So this is my account. And I think, I've been a member for this for what, 8 years, 6 months.
Wow.
That's 8 years, 6 months is long time, as a developer. So I'll tell you my story of how I started on this Stack Exchange. So I used to be a developer on Salesforce, and in those days we did not have what you call Trailhead, right? Trailhead is awesome, and I'm so thankful that we have Trailhead now. We did not have Trailhead at that time, and the moment I get on a problem, I was like, there is someone who know about this problem. I might not be the only one facing this, right? So I saw this forum, Salesforce at stackexchange.com those days. I was like really interested to sign it up and post questions. So I did post a couple of questions there, and I was surprised. Okay, instead of like me struggling for half a day, somebody came and responded, and instead of spending like 8 hours, now this problem is solved in an hour. I have 7 hours of my life that I can spend for something else. So that got me really excited. And at that time I was like passionate, little more younger obviously than what I am now, right? 8 years back. So I was like, okay, I want to contribute to this forum. So I joined this forum, and it became a passion. And in that process there was again a lot of learning for me, and I hopefully saved a lot of somebody else's time, right?
Yeah.
So this is all about sharing and collaboration. Yeah, as a developers, one of the things that I have started to realize as I have grew up as a developer is a hard job. Like let's just admit it. It's hard, to be focused, and also to produce code with good quality takes lots of time. And a lot of times it's like business don't understand that, or let's say your management does not understand it. Although I would say, like, I've been lucky here in Salesforce that we have a really good culture, but a lot of times you are just pushed to deliver stuff. So it's a challenging role. You're really challenged on everyday basis. So it's hard to maintain that work-life balance, right? So anything that can improve that, for me, is like a game changer, right? And communities like this is where I truly believe that they actually save you from pulling a lot of hairs. You really get your answers quickly. You learn a lot of stuff from others. So you're enhancing the knowledge also with very little time of your own. Like you're not alone in your problems, and you're sharing your problems and sharing your knowledge as well. So yeah, this was really interesting to me. I still
Stay here,
do
stay
it.
here. No, don't move, don't change. I just want to point out, everyone probably noticed he's in the top 0.18% of everyone in the Salesforce Stack Exchange group. Who has more than you? Just SFDC Fox, probably, right? And
Yeah, they're community members. I want to shout out to them. We don't
wow, you're
really
right there in the
celebrate.
top 5, 4.
We don't really celebrate, right? But I want to give a shout out to Brian, also Adrian, Keith,
Yeah,
Daniel, and everybody on this page, actually, including Peter and Jesse Altman, Bob Buzzard, everybody on this page, even Robert and Derek, Eric, everyone, because they do such an amazing job and amazing
yeah,
contribution to our community here, like the
yeah,
developer community. And we are so thankful to have everyone here. It makes everyone's life so easier, because I mean, Stack Exchange is one of the places where you will definitely find answers, right? If there are the possibility of finding an answer on Stack Exchange is very, very high. I love developer forums as well, like Salesforce developer forums, but I think here we have really skilled people
yeah.
coming together as a community and helping the community. So I'm so glad to be a part of this whole community members here, and really excited to see where we go with this community.
Yeah, that's what one of the things that makes Salesforce amazing is the community, such talented community who are helping each other, just donating their time, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is like exactly like, it takes time to answer questions on
Yeah,
Stack Exchange. It also takes time to write questions. It also takes time to write answers. So any sort of contribution is welcome. Even I, sometimes what I do is I go and see, okay, who are all the people voting, in the community, because it's very important that you also upvote the answers and upvote the questions. That's where the community keeps going. There is a little bit of gaming that is built into the system. So I go and look at, okay, how many votes, like who is top voting, right? So you can see, like, the people who contribute are also people who vote for other people's questions and answers. So that's also an important metrics to consider. And also moderators, right? They do a really good job, because one of
Yeah.
the things that these forums can get noisy is the quality, right? Like, when you talk about like questions, like a lot of time what can happen is folks can come here and start writing like, how do I write a trigger?
Yeah.
That's an example of like not good question, because it's very generic, right? And this forum is for specific things, like you show me the code. Also, don't put the whole code, right? You're not going to get a response. That's again, moderator will find it and flag it. So when you write questions, there's an art here that you point us to the exact stuff that's not working. So yeah, that's something that I learned over years. Like, writing questions on Stack Exchange is itself something that requires a lot of time and dedication, and you have to be like crisp clear on that, saying, okay, this is the area that I'm facing trouble with, so that you have high possibility of getting the answers. I myself post a lot of questions, as you can see, like, I used to post questions.
No, it's not that many. 40 questions over 8 years.
Yeah. Not many though. Yeah, not many.
Not much.
But
You've
still,
been
like,
you've been answering. You've been very busy answering questions.
no. So let's think it in a different way. Actually, before posting the question, there is a high possibility of finding that question itself in this forum.
Yes.
So somebody else would have posted it. And I Google, and sometimes I find my own answers. Sometimes I find, being answered by other community members. But this has been really helpful forum. I have to call it out.
Yeah.
It's really awesome forum for all the developers out here. So
yeah, well done. Look at Mohith. Your posts have reached 5.2 million people.
Oh yeah. So this is the impact that you can have with a forum like this, right? You can reach to so many developers via this channel. So
well done.
thank you so much.
And let's look at your Trailhead. I was looking at when you were on the Trailhead. I saw you had like a lot of points.
Trailhead. Okay,
Wow.
that's an interesting thing. Trailhead, yeah. So Trailhead again. Again, so the thing with the Trailhead for me has been, anything on the Trailhead is useful, although I would have slowed down a bit, I must say, in last 1 year or so. But yeah, this used to be one of my passion as well, to see what content it is getting posted. And again, like, people see these badges and they think it's overnight, and also this Stack Exchange post, and they think that this is overnight, but actually it's not overnight. Nothing is overnight here. It's built over the years, and that's why I say to developers as well, like, do not give it up. Like, if you've started some work, right, just keep going. A lot of times I've seen like people throwing off the work, like they come to like 50%, they do 60% of the work, and then they forget about it, right? There is that little catch there, that even if you're doing like small work, just try to keep doing it, and over the time you'll finish that work. So the same thing with Trailhead badges, etc. Because, like, think about it, right? If you do like one Trailhead badge, which might take you half an hour per day, so you carve out like 20-30 minutes of your time over like 10 years. Imagine the amount of badges you have. And similar thing with Stack Exchange. Like, you might see my Stack Exchange and you might be like, okay, I spend lots of time on Stack Exchange. Like, maybe I'm spending 4 hours on Stack Exchange. Really not. I spend like probably an hour or so every day, and probably I'm answering 1 or 2 questions every day. That's it. Cool. But over the 8 or 10 years, it might feel like a really big, really lot of contribution. But yeah, that's the reality of it.
Well done, Mohith.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well done. They did a good job in finding the developer advocate.
Thanks to my manager, Peter Cheatham. Peter Cheatham hired me. I'm learning, actually. Let's be frank. Like, we have so many other advocates here, and they do really tremendous amount of job, that it's always like a lot of learning every day from everyone here on the team. So I've been so grateful for that. Yeah.
So you're at the edge of Salesforce technology. You're pushing this technology, trying to educate other developers, so that we're bringing Salesforce to be the best CRM out there. Can you tell us, in your view, what are the top 3 Salesforce technologies in the next 1 year? Like, I'm a Salesforce developer, like there's so much out there. What should I pay attention to? What should I learn?
Yes. Okay. This is again with safe harbor. I want to do a safe harbor here because things might change. But to me, like the number one thing that I would say that I would learn as a Salesforce developer today is either learn Java or JavaScript apart from all of the stuff that you learn today. Like, I know that a lot of you know Apex, writing flows, writing triggers. We should learn one more technology apart from what we know today. It could be Java, it could be JavaScript. And the reason for that is we'll have Salesforce functions coming. And Salesforce functions will open up an environment for us to code in other languages as well, apart other languages than you're used to, like Apex, right? So if you're coming from a Java world or JavaScript world, with JavaScript, right, or TypeScript, you'll be able to create Node.js services. With Java, you'll be able to create microservices. So learn one of those technologies, again, Salesforce function, and not only for Salesforce functions. I would say it will be useful for everything, like especially like JavaScript, right? It is going to be so useful for your career in Salesforce for next few years for sure. Because with JavaScript, like Node.js, which is JavaScript on server, essentially, you can build microservices on Heroku or Netlify or any other platform that you take, right? And you can also use these technologies like Node.js. Node.js has a lot of libraries as well, and also it's used in our Commerce Kit, on our Marketing Cloud and platform. So JavaScript is like one skill that Salesforce developers should have to be successful. You can work with any of the other technologies that we have, like Marketing Cloud or B2C commerce or B2B commerce. So yeah, or Lighting Web Components, if you're on the platform, it's all JavaScript. So that's number one. I would say JavaScript, high on my list. It's a really good language. Things are changing there as well in JavaScript. Like we have I think we have ES 2021, I guess, or 2020. I don't recall, but things are changing in JavaScript world, and definitely it's one of the languages that I will focus on and I'm learning, and it's exciting because I can do a lot of stuff. I can build my developer tools with it. I can build my CLI plugins with it. A lot of things we can do with it. The second thing I would say is web technology, right? Even though we are Salesforce developers, you should know that Salesforce app itself is built on, it is a web app, right? You log into Salesforce, so it's a web app. So having a general knowledge of what is going around in web technology really helps. And one of the safe harbor, again, things that I'm looking forward to is LWR, Lightning Web Runtime. This will be a framework, or I don't know at this point how to define, but this will allow you to build connected experiences with Salesforce. That means, if I want to build a website, I can do with that framework and using the same technology like Lightning Web Components that I'm familiar. So I'm using Lightning Web Components on Salesforce platform, or let's say I'm building a connected application with Salesforce, I'll be able to use that. The third thing I would say that I'm excited about is Devops Center. Now, Devops Center is more of an admin sort of a product, less around developer, I must say, but I'm excited about it because with Devops Center, we have so many challenges today, I must admit, with DevOps in Salesforce. You have to write a lot of code, you have to script it. With Devops Center, some of those things will be simplified. So you can think of Devops Center as like a really better tool than chain sets. So with that, you'll be able to version your projects on Git. You'll be able to deploy your work items. So these are three things that I'm super excited about. And I'm really looking forward to learning about all of these technologies as they roll out in next year or this year and next year. Definitely JavaScript, I would say, like, I'm interested in learning Java as well. Like for me, I started Apex directly. So Java is little familiar, but I must say that I'm not an expert in Java. But I can do a Java programming. Like if you give me something to write in Java, I can. But I'm more interested in JavaScript because it seems like one language. I can write my front end, I can write my back end, I can write my tools. So just knowing JavaScript and where things are headed, definitely JavaScript is a good technology to learn.
Should I learn Lightning Web Components or JavaScript?
That's a good question. Should you learn Java Lightning? So Lightning Web Components are based on Web Component standards, and those require you to learn JavaScript. So if you're learning Lightning Web Components, you are using JavaScript essentially.
Yes. So isn't it better just to learn Lightning Web Components because it's Salesforce specific?
Yeah. So when you learn Lightning Web Components, you need to be familiar with JavaScript. So in that process, you will eventually learn JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
So JavaScript is like a fundamental language essentially. So in that process, like as you said, like okay, you should definitely learn Lightning Web Components, how to write Lightning Web Components. But if your fundamentals of JavaScript is not good, like for example, let's take an example, right? If you don't know how to work with arrays in JavaScript, definitely you won't be a better developer. You won't be doing a better job with Lightning Web Components because you simply do not know about array methods like filter or map or or reduce. So you don't know about them, right? So you might end up writing a lot more code, which might be maybe a couple of APIs in JavaScript if you knew about it. So
cool. So just to sum it up, your recommendations for top 3 technologies that Salesforce developers should learn in the next year, or they should pay attention to the next year, are improving the JavaScript knowledge, learning Java, so that
that's optional. I would say optional. Learning Java is an optional thing.
Okay, so first thing is JavaScript, so that they know about Salesforce functions, right?
Yes, they can use that in Salesforce function. Yeah. So JavaScript and Node.js. Let's split it out. Like let's say JavaScript, learn Node.js, and then also learn Salesforce technology itself, right? Now it again depends on the career aspirations. Few of you might want to like be a domain specific developers, right? Like I know some developers who are very, very business specific. They want to understand the domain and have the domain knowledge, right? For those of them, they must learn different industry clouds based on the industry that you're interested in. Like for example, when I used to work for my previous company, we heavily used Health Cloud. So I had to go and learn Salesforce Health Cloud. So learning Salesforce Health Cloud was a journey because I had to learn the terminology of the healthcare industry and how the healthcare industry operates in US. So I had to learn that and then learn the technology, right? But yeah, just to summarize, you were summarizing it, right? JavaScript,
Node.js for Salesforce functions.
Yeah.
Then Lightning Web Runtime.
Yes.
And then third is Devops Center.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And those things are again very, very forward looking, right? Definitely whenever those technologies are launched, you should pay attention to them because they're going to change the way things work, right? Or they're going to primarily change lot of things for us as a developers. So
cool. If I want to stay up to date on the newest technologies coming out, reading the release notes is very tough. It's too comprehensive. It takes a long time. Yeah. And what's an easy way to stay up to date on the hot stuff that Salesforce is bringing our way? What are 3 things I should pay attention to?
Yeah, that's the very good question. So one very important thing when it comes to release notes is I generally read release notes that I'm interested in. Like, for example, I'm a developer on Salesforce platform. So I'm more interested in what is new in development. So we have different sections in those release notes. And also we have release readiness live for every release. Like the summer will come on, you'll see a release readiness live webinars going on. So I recommend that you attend one of those webinars because there's so awesome content there, which summarizes the stuff for you. Like, okay, this is something that was launched, this release, and this is how you actually implement it. And also the last thing I would say is watch for sample gallery applications, because we implement those features in that sample gallery application. So
Like
if
the
you
ones
are a
you showed
developer,
us, right? The bike.
yeah, yes.
The,
So every release we implement it. So you can watch our PRs, the pull request. When I say PR, it means pull request. So every release will have a pull request for all of these sample applications. So you can watch for them. Just watching them, like what we are doing, is going to give you so much of more knowledge around the features that you might not even get that knowledge by just reading the notes, because notes will say we launched this, right? But what we do is how to use that in our application. Like for example, let's take an example, right? Couple of releases back, we have the safe navigation operator feature. When the release went live, we actually implemented that in our sample gallery app. So if you look at our PRs, you will see that, okay, we have implemented this stuff, and we show you like how to implement or how to adopt these. So
this is very interesting. I never thought about paying attention to PRs. Can you show me a sample PR? Like,
yeah, definitely I can.
how do I even?
Yeah,
there must be a lot of PRs.
That's a very good question, right? So this is how I envision that let's take an example of something that we did this release. So let's go to the easy spaces, right? So I want to go to the closed PR. So as you can see, there are a lot of PRs, right? That you have. Usually our releases will be like Spring 21 release or something like that, right? So Spring 21 release, for me, I change like 42 number of files here. And it's very easy to look at it. A lot of times, like the number of files that we change is because we change the versions, So for example, this one, right? So we renamed Lightning Flow to Salesforce Flow. So you see that, okay, we changed it.
Oh, really? It's been renamed?
Yes. So you see, so Lightning Flow is called Salesforce Flow. So we changed it. Let's look at the next one, right? So the next feature was we removed this. So we have this enable set password in API as a security setting. It's no more a setting, it's a feature. So we had to move this to a feature. And a lot of you might not know about it. You're still using something like this and your CI is actually having issues. That is because of this, right? Because in 51, they moved that stuff. And then all of these are like what version changes probably. So we change our versions, right? But sometimes because we are changing the version, our metadata is also changing. So you will see that really not a lot in this release actually for this application. But if you look at other applications, you'll find. So yeah, you'll have to just pay attention to one of our branches. This branch is deleted, I guess. But yeah, if you pay attention to our branch. So the way we work, right? Every release, like for example, summer is coming now. So you will see we'll create a branch called summer. I think it is summer 21. That will be the release name. So we'll create a branch called summer 21. So if you compare that branch with the master branch or develop branch in this case, you will see that there is that diff, between the things that are changed. So that is one way to see. Like I think as a developer, you should definitely spend some time, visiting this Trailhead apps, budget some time. And, one of the things I do, and that has helped me in the past, is I actually go and say, let's say I like a project, right? There is this neat little feature in GitHub which says watch. Okay. So I say, okay, I want to watch for mentions or parts or all the activities sometimes, right? So depending on what you need, you can also create some custom flows here, but you watch for it. So, and then in your email, what I do is in my email, I create a custom filter. So I don't have to bother about it, right? But when some things are happening, right, I get a notification there in that email, right? And finally, when I have some time, I just go to that notification and look at it, that what are the things that got changed in this project, right? Who submitted what was the code that they changed? So that way I know that, okay, this is how they're doing certain things. And I've learned a lot just by observing the PR. Like looking at the PR is so important for any open source project, because it allows you to see how others are actually working on stuff. What are they changing, what are they building in terms of,
Interesting.
yeah.
Never thought about that way, but you don't know if, like, I thought that PRs don't make sense without knowing the requirements, but even without knowing the requirements, it is, from what I saw, you showed me, it was very interesting to see the changes.
Yes, exactly. And one thing that happens with the PR is usually people write comments like, I have updated to remove community references. Some of them, and these are like automated PRs, I don't recommend. Like, for example, Spring 21 release for e-bikes, right? 54 files that somebody changed it. And usually commits have more information, like, add this password, update it, switch CLI to npm, right? People write commits there. So it's not like you are just looking at the PR and you can't figure it out. You will definitely figure it out what's going on here, And most importantly, what I watch for is the metadata change. Like, for example, this is the metadata for communities, right? If you look at this, see, there is this new thing called configuration tags that got added this release. And generally it is very hard, like, find out, okay, what got added this release for this experience builder metadata. So you can watch the metadata itself. And in Salesforce, essentially, when you're building an application, you are building you're using the metadata of Salesforce, right? Ultimately it's the metadata that goes and deploys. So just knowing that, okay, what is that difference of the metadata between the versions, it really helps to understand what new features Salesforce has added, because this is how it works. If Salesforce adds a new feature, they create a metadata for it generally, or make a change in one of the metadata API formats. So the other thing that I've followed is, sometimes what I do is I go to my Salesforce org and find out the WSDL. Okay, and this is I can really quickly show you. I don't think a lot of you know about this, and I have been like big fan of doing this way, and honestly I learn more this way. So what I do is I go and say, okay, API, I go to the integrations and API, and you'll see different WSDL that Salesforce offers, right? So I say, okay, generate the metadata WSDL, and it will generate the metadata WSDL for this release. So this is for 51, okay? And when your org is one release before, it will have 50. I compare both of them, using some kind of a diff tool, and it will tell you that, hey, this thing got added, or this thing got added, and you can find a bunch of things in here which will be added, and that will decipher things back for you, like, okay, this feature was added, so this is the new metadata that got created.
Wow, fascinating. Another way to look at
the
release.
Releases. And I also go look at the tooling WSDL sometimes, because tooling WSDL tells me, okay, what are the tooling changes that team has done? This is like, it's going to take some time to load, but similar way, like tooling WSDL, right? This will also be like, okay, these are the new stuff that got added. And you can also even figure it out. If we add a new feature, there will be a new object got created, and it will show up here that this object got created in the backend.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow, this was very interesting, even for myself.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. I hope it'll be very interesting to our listeners, viewers.
No worries.
Mohith, this is pretty much it. We've been speaking over an hour.
That's wonderful. And thank you for your time today. And thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and also seeing what the content that you produce on YouTube. I have watched a couple of your videos. Let me recall. I think I watched a couple of interviews around how people got into Salesforce ecosystem. You interviewed our community members. And it's always a pleasure to hear some stories, because they are inspiring, and also it gives us a different perspective, because everybody might have come from a different path. So it's really interesting to hear the stories and insights that you produce on your channel.
Oh, Mohith, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much also for educating us and helping the community grow.
Thank you so much. Yeah.